unfortunately, so it's all right. We have a lot of propositions on our ballot this year. Arizona, when it became a state, it isn't allowed, the initiatives and everything were not allowed, so they had to be taken off our constitution when we became a state. Then after we became a state, we put all this ability to have initiatives put back on. That's not explaining it well, but that's what happened. So we're one of those states that they love to run initiatives through.
Right.
So, and we have a lot of them this year. So people are going to, between all the candidates and everything we have to vote for, and they're gonna get to the propositions, they're gonna have ballot fatigue. And you get down to the school board, you get down to the corporation commission, you get down to something past the president, and people don't vote. And it's so important that they vote all the way down the ballot. It's so important. So really, anybody you talk to them about doing that. One of the first ones you're going to see on your ballot is to protect partisan primaries. There's two combating propositions that are on the ballot this year. This one right now, we have a two-party system, but you have people that are other, you have PNDs, you have the libertarians, and you have independents, but independents are not a party. And then you have the Democrats and you have the Republicans, and now we have the no labels party. And people pulled no label parties in the primary, and they got a blank sheet. And they were upset because they didn't have anybody to vote for. Well, that's because in a primary, you get to vote for the candidates in your party. And there weren't any candidates in the no labels party, so that's why they got blank ballots. They didn't realize what they had done when they registered, because I had a couple of calls on that. But, you know, if you are PND and other independent, you can go in and you can request which party you wanna vote for and get either one of those ballots. So it does allow everybody to vote, and, you're just gonna pick the party. But what it does, it reaffirms the existing primary system that's in place, that is free, allows for the parties to have a candidate. And with having parties, you have an idea, because different parties stand for different things. So you're gonna have an idea of what party you want to, according to your beliefs and how you feel, of what party you wanna belong to, or you wanna vote for, hopefully. And then it prohibits what they call jungle primaries, and I probably will not explain this terribly accurately, but jungle primaries is when you have a whole bunch of people on there without a party. They're jungle primary, and I'm gonna confuse it with ranked choice voting, because I'm not an expert on this. All of these talking points I'm getting from what they call Arizona Free Enterprise Club, and they research the propositions, and then they've come out with their recommendations and everything. But most of these, like Prop 133, that was initiated by our legislature in opposition to another bill that was initiated, that's later on this. So that's what it's for. It's just to keep our primary system in place the way it is. Okay, these initiatives that we see that are being placed, what happens is people will go to a populated area in Pima County and Phoenix, in a populated area where people are like-minded to the proposition or the initiative that they're wanting to get signatures for. And we do have handouts on all of this, and Lynn has everything. He told me he has everything.
Everything, and then some.
Except for the one thing I wanted.
I don't have that one.
Yeah. So anyway, so we will have handouts, so you don't have to write every one of these down, if you want one from Lynn. He has them. Okay, so what it does right now, these people will focus, and they'll focus on an area that has people, a highly populated area. And so they don't have to go to the rural areas, they don't have to go all over the state. They can get the amount of signatures that they need in a couple of areas, and then they get it on the ballot that way. So this allows everybody in rural Arizona and urban Arizona, everybody to get signatures. It's gonna require for them to have so many signatures proportionately in all the different areas all around the states and all the different counties. So it will distribute it better, and then I think it is a lot fairer myself. So
This is 133?
this 134.
Sorry,
Geographic distribution,
Oh, okay.
okay? Emergency powers, and I got way off in the weeds on this one, at Robeson, I bored him to death. And this basically originated, the state legislature put this in force in reaction to when you, remember when our whole state was shut down for COVID?
Yeah.
Okay, well, with the legislature, right now it requires, I believe, a 2/3 majority vote, super majority vote of the legislature to bring us back into legislation and to do anything about it. So this allows the legislature to have oversight over the governor by using the emergency powers. They can immediately, on day one, before it was like 90 days, they can have ability to call the legislature back into session with just the majority of the members. They can automatically terminate the emergency measure after 30 days. And it allows the legislature the ability to restore the checks and balances, and something that is pretty interesting is they focus on, it's, Arizona Revised Statute 49-654, it's ARS Title 49-465. It's the air pollution emergency. There's several in our legislature, there's several in law. But this one is the air pollution emergency. The governor may, by proclamation, declare that an emergency exists and may prohibit, restrict, or condition the following. Number one on the list, motor vehicle traffic. I mean, so there's a lot of powers in there. So this gives us a lot more check and balances where the legislature can come back in and do that. So that one was a yes from Free Enterprise, because they were for. California style primaries, okay, Prop 140. This right now is at the Superior Court. This one, they did require signatures for. This was not by the legislature. They put in Prop 133 in counteraction to this one on Prop 140. It's at the Superior Court right now, and now it's gotten rejected at the Superior Court. However, they had, and I can't think of the name for it, but the person that was reviewing the signatures up at the court did confirm yesterday that, yes, that it was a 99 point something % of duplicate signatures on over 40,000 signatures.
Wow.
Which would put it below the required amount for signatures. But anyway, it got tossed out today, so now I guess it's going back to the Supreme Court. So,
This is 140?
that's Prop 140, so that is going to be on the ballot, and, and what that does, it's my understanding, well, they use it, they have it in California, they have it in Alaska, and it takes out the parties, so this was said at a meeting when this came up, and I don't have it because we're on camera, I don't wanna be, this is the gospel. But what they said is it entices special interests to get involved. And, so you're gonna have candidates with a lot of money. Those are the candidates you're going to see. And those are the candidates that people are going to know. And it may be two candidates from the same parties. And it also, it establishes the jungle primaries where candidates from only one party could be on the general election. It implements ranked choice voting, and the way I understand that is you may have, and I understand this happened in New York, where they had not 10 people running for something in a county, and you have to rank them 10 through 1 for every single one of them. And if you don't rank every single one of them, your ballot is invalid. And then it will come back and you'll vote the next time, and it gets down to where only a small percentage are actually casting their vote, because people lose
Just
interest.
adds
Like,
confusion.
So anyway, it's a confusing process for voters to
Sounds like
understand.
it's deliberately confusing.
Yeah.
And it's concentrated power at allotting the Secretary of State to determine election logistics for each race. And it's very difficult to audit. And those are their talking points. So, one that was on here, there's also Prop 137 that I skipped over. And, that one, and people like to vote for their judges, but I can tell you, this one was where they were neutral on it to begin with. In all honesty, most people don't know their judges. So, you know, a lot of people will go in and just vote no on the judges, they just think, oh, it's good to just clean house and do whatever. But, the fact was, and we had a legislator explain it, there was a case here a couple years ago where one of the parties didn't like one of the judges, so they came in, I need to get a drink of water, excuse me.
You got some?
Huh? Yeah, I do. One of the parties came in, and so they started a campaign, and then it was a very massive campaign against one or two judges, and got them thrown off the ballot, and the other side felt that they were very good judges, so they hated to see that happen. So they're wanting to, have them go before a judicial review, and that would determine whether or not a judge should be retained. That doesn't sound good on a lot of respects. It says it right here, it ends the term limits for state Supreme Court justices and Superior Court justices, replacing them with terms of good behavior unless decided otherwise by a judicial review commission. You can look up that at Judicial Review Commission. If you go to azcourts.gov, and you can look it up. But they are definitely a yes on that now, because of what's happening in the courts. And then I guess another thing too, if you have a judge, even if you don't like them and they're aging out because they have to retire at age 70, let's say they've only got a couple years left, you take them out. The governor gets to appoint the next one, they can appoint one at 35 years old or something. They're there for the next 35 years, so that's just another one.
So which way are we leaning on this one?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
well, this is a non-partisan thing. So anyway.
Judicial review committees also get taken over by parties in control.
So anyway, so tipped wage protection is Prop 138. And it allows for the tipped workers, this is, something that's important to the restaurant industry. It allows for the tipped workers to be paid 25% less per hour than the minimum wage if tips were not less than the minimum wage plus $2 more for all hours worked. And there is a law in effect right now, and I believe it's $3, they can be paid $3 under the minimum wage, but they don't have the opportunity to earn more over, I don't have all the talking points on that one, unfortunately. But it seems like the waitresses and the people and stuff like that are working on tips, the people that do that, they're much in favor of this. And what the other one does without it is just going to incentivize people to keep paying the minimum wage, and then the restaurants have to pay minimum wage. They go out of business, or your food gets to where you can't afford it. So that one's a yes. Prop 139, and that one is a big vote getter outer, is what that is, in my opinion. That is, what is that there, that you have there? Excuse me.
He's got a flyer.
There's the Prop 139 right there. Okay, I gave them to you the other night, yeah. Okay, so, but that does tell you quite a bit. You're seeing a lot of ads on the people that, aren't supporting the Abortion Access Act. You're seeing a lot of ads on that. A lot of money is being poured into it. I did hear an expert at Robeson Ranch on Saturday, and he was excellent. He was an obstetrician all of his life, and had performed abortions and everything else. And he said, you know, he's very much in favor of the law that we have now. What people don't understand is right now, you have abortion. You can have an abortion in Arizona up to 15 weeks. there was a law that went in place and it became a big thing and they made a big deal out of it. It was a law that was before we were a state, 1864, that literally said you could not have an abortion, period, for any reason, pretty much.
Our great
And,
governor. threw
so
that out.
anyway, well, but after 40 years of Roe v. Wade and having abortion on demand, you can't, you know, the feeling is if you go from that to the other, is a total no-win. So anyway, so this is because they knew Roe v. Wade was coming off a couple of years ago, they did put in 2022, this law, so up to 15 weeks. And like he said, if you don't know, close to 4 months if you're pregnant or not, or whatever, you know, that's plenty of time. But in the new one, in this abortion access, one of the key points is you'll never find the word doctor or physician anywhere in it. It doesn't exist. You know, it can be anybody associated with medicine. I mean, it could be a optometrist or a chiropractor, or, you know.
Anybody who's at first aid.
Yeah.
Over the internet.
Yeah, prohibits any regulation that interferes with or infringes on any abortion, even if it is a safety standard to prevent. Like a perforated uterus, sepsis, hemorrhaging, death related to ectopic pregnancy. It doesn't require parental consent, so kids can go ahead and get an abortion without their parents knowing or their consent. It does not require that they have access to a hospital in case there's complications. So there's a lot of things wrong with it, but then you're gonna have a lot of people on the other side, and there's gonna be so much money poured into this. You know, my choice, my body, my choice, so that is their thing, so, the
Worst
enterprise
thing
does
about-
not get in.
Worst thing about that bill is the fact that if it does indeed pass, there's stipulation in there that says it can never be overturned
Well,
in the future by
all of
the
these
governor or
become-
anybody else.
all of these become state law. Everything that you see on a
Yeah,
proposition
most
on a
of them don't
ballot,
have those kind of, that stipulation in it, do they?
They all do.
I think you could overturn it if you went and you got signatures.
Not in 139, it's got a stipulation in the bill that says it can't be overturned.
Okay, I don't know, but there's an awful lot of money that happened in Ohio, and they said, yeah,
Right?
And see how people react.
and
But it's
boy,
never
money.
real bummed
But it
about.
will get a lot of people out to vote.
Yeah.
That are for it.
That's what, and the only reason people are for it is because they don't understand it. You know, I talked to a chaplain friend of mine, and basically, he said, oh, I saw that on the media, it sounds like a really good idea. I said, well, let me go over these points with you, you know, and then he goes, oh, that's totally different than what they're presenting out there on the media, which
Well-
is generally the way that we, you know, these things go.
But the best way to fight it too is to say, you know, you still can have an abortion in Arizona up to 15 weeks. And if it's extenuating circumstances, rape, incest, or
Sure.
the life of the mother, you still can have them. So,
Right.
you know, so that other one, so their thing is it goes too far.
Right, exactly.
Of course, if you replace the word abortion with slavery, that changes things.
Babies will want reparations.
Nancy, doesn't, when we pass a proposition, we're actually changing our
You
state.
can't change it again
our
unless you
state
get that many
constitution,
signatures.
And it's gotta be,
That
it's
go back
almost
through.
75% of the voting people to be able to overturn that, to
All
get a
of
bill
these.
to overturn it. Once it becomes part of our state constitution, that's one of the bad things about Arizona. Anybody can go out and get the signatures, is what they've done on this bill. On some of the other bills, they got the signatures, so they put it out to the people and they advertise it as something else. Like 139,
Right.
they're saying women's rights is
Right.
what they're calling that. They're not
Right.
calling that what it is, so.
Babies'
Yeah.
rights.
And you don't ever wait for murder, there's no wait for murder, sorry.
Yes.
Well, when I got approached right here
Yeah,
at the
no, it's
Arizona
the
City
75 with the
at the
divorce
Arizona
market.
City Post Office, I got approached on Prop 140.
That was winning this one.
And they were getting signatures there like crazy, and this lady came up to me and she said, did you know 40% of the people can't vote? Registered voters can't vote? Which is absolutely not
Yeah.
true. Maybe 40% don't vote, but
Right.
they can,
Yeah, of course.
yeah. So,
That
okay,
it makes
so.
sense. They're registered
Well, but,
voters.
you know, somebody would say, I had a person call me and they said, what did you think? This sounded really good by the time they got done presenting to them.
Right,
And I said, it's not.
yep,
So, 311 is the first responder death benefit. And I had a legislator say that, you know, this is gonna be up to you. He said any first responder that gets killed in the line of duty, he was definitely felt that they were deserving of this. Is where the federal government right now administers a $500 death benefit to family members that were killed or permanently disabled in connection with their work. And this adds an additional $250,000 state benefit, and it's paid for by a $20 fee for every criminal penalty imposed by the state. So, that's up to you. They didn't have a position on it. I like it.
You take some money from the right people.
Good.
Yeah. Prop 312, and that's protecting property owners. Like I said, there's a bunch of them on the ballot. And Prop 312 is basically, that originated out of all of the homelessness and the zones created up in Phoenix that you see in all these towns where businesses were disrupted and put out of, you know, and they couldn't do they couldn't make a living. Areas where houses were and everything else were, you know, surrounded and had zones around them and stuff like that. So this is to protect property owners. So, this one is a good one. It allows the property owners to apply for a property tax refund in certain circumstances. They got into the weeds on it because every week we have an hour-and-a-half meeting on these propositions, so we can talk intelligently about them, and I said, I haven't been able to do that yet, but anyway.
Doing a fine job.
No.
Does it sound like the neighbors don't pay on their lawn?
Looks like you're moving in the right
Have
direction.
those little Red Bull bottles on your front lawn?
I would, you know, I like that, protecting property owners. I mean, if you have, let's say they set fire to the building next to you, a bunch of people that, and stuff like that. So, this one is another one that they didn't have a position on, I believe. And that is increasing the penalties for sex trafficking, and increase it for a person convicted of a class 2 felony for child sex trafficking to a mandatory sentence of natural life without eligibility to parole. So that one's up to you. Securing the border. And right now, because can't secure our border, this allows the state law enforcement to apprehend persons to have entered the state outside the legal port of entry. And this is similar to the Texas state bill. It can be detained or given an option of they can be detained or given the option of self-deportation and funded by appropriations by the legislature for border enforcement and law enforcement allocation of funds. So that one, they're just trying to do something, give the state legislature some way to do something to secure our border. So I think that's a definite yes.
Absolutely.
315. Ratification of state. This is legislative oversight of regulations. Requires the legislative ratification of any regulation adopted by an agency costs more than $500,000. If the legislature does not ratify the regulation, it will not be implemented. And that is a yes, and I think that's good because you get these bureaucracies, you get these appointed entities within the government. They're not elected, they don't have to really account in these agencies, and they run things. So that was a definite yes. Then the last thing that's going to be on our budget, and that's gonna be Proposition 486. And what that is a continuation of a half cent sales tax. It's not on there. They have Maricopa's on there. But this is the continuation of the road maintenance and improvement fund excise tax in Pinal County to fund transportation. And, It was originally passed in 1986, renewed in 2005, and it's used for road repair, pothole repair, road widening, road preservation, new road construction, intersection improvements, and traffic safety improvements. I don't think we'd have a new road in Arizona City if we didn't have this. I mean, I think it's something that we have already. It's a 20-year continuation of the tax, and it will, at the rate that our state is growing and the infrastructure is really a need here. There's no vote on this because it didn't happen in Maricopa County, and this is where everything else, where the company that does all of these is. So I would be a yes on Prop 486 because we need the infrastructure here. And it's something that's already in place. They're not asking for anything additional, just to keep it going for another 20 years, kind of like our overrides. So anyway, we'll get 'em. So that's pretty much it, folks.
All right, great.
All right.
Thank you so much.